Sometimes I think I would feel so much better about my life if I just knew how it was going to end. If someone could just hand me the last page of my story, show me who I become, where I land, how it all turns out. I imagine I'd move through the world easier, maybe less anxious, less afraid. And I know I'm not alone in this feeling. There is a part of me that craves certainty because certainty decreases anxiety. It makes us feel like we have control in a world that often feels out of control. Just look at our society. We're obsessed with certainty. We make 5-year plans, we get diagnoses, we check forecasts, we turn on GPSs so we never have to be lost. We take personality tests hoping someone will tell us who we are. We track our steps, our sleep, our productivity, our screen time. We have become a civilization that has traded mystery for management. And honestly, I think it's costing us. If you're like me and you were raised in a world that values certainty and where not knowing creates so much anxiety that it becomes almost like hard to enjoy your actual life, then I want to share a few simple steps that helped me unwind that programming. Think of them as a little map for what we do here at Earth School Navigation. The first step is noticing. Just notice where in your life you are demanding certainty. Where are you clinging to a plan because the not knowing feels like unbearable? Maybe it's your career, your relationship, your health, your finances, or your spiritual path. For me, it showed up in my work. I had a high paying job and a promising career, and on paper, everything was really stable and certain. But inside, I felt flat. I felt like I was living someone else's life, just waiting for the weekends, waiting for vacation, waiting for retirement. That's one of the hidden costs of certainty. When it's not aligned with your soul, it keeps you comfortable, but not alive. So I quit my job. I walked away from the security of that job. I packed up my house and I moved across the country away from people and a community I loved. People around me thought I was brave or reckless, depending on the day or depending on the person. But inside, I was just tired of living a life that felt pre written. And here's what happened next, which I didn't really expect. I had traded one kind of certainty for another. I thought that if I just worked hard enough, if I just put out good content, if I just follow my calling, then I know it'll all work out. But certainty doesn't work that way. The demand for certainty simply moved. It showed up as anxiety about the outcome of these new choices instead of anxiety about staying in my old life. I realized I wasn't suffering because I didn't have a plan. I was suffering because I was demanding that the plan guaranteed a specific result. And that's just impossible. That's not how life works. The suffering came from grasping at something that was never really mine to hold. So for me, this first step was, oh shit, I notice I crave certainty in an uncertain world, and my sense of safety depends on things I could never control. And that's a fragile way for me to live. So that's step one, noticing the part of you that seeks certainty as a form of safety. This brings me to step two, which is questioning. Ask yourself, what is my demand for certainty actually costing me? What if my need to know is costing me the very thing I'm looking for? What if it's shrinking my world, limiting my possibilities, keeping me safe but small? I wanted certainty that walking away from a secure job would somehow guarantee success. So I had to question that part of me. By questioning that part of me, I was able to see that I was starting to create from fear and evaluation instead of from soul and inspiration. And when I value certainty over the unknown, I shrink the field of possibility down to what I can understand, right? I trade mystery for management. I trade awe for analysis. I had to question the part of me that was conditioned to believe that certainty was the most valued and bring awareness to how it was actually flattening my experience. Because if I need certainty, then I'll stop taking risks. I will stop listening to my intuition. I stop following those little nudges that don't come with guarantees. One thing I've realized while navigating Earth School is that certainty is the language of the mind and mystery is the language of the soul. And the soul doesn't grow inside what it already knows, it just doesn't. And because I want to grow on that deeper soul level, I had to change my relationship with certainty and uncertainty because uncertainty isn't the enemy here. Our relationship to uncertainty is, at least that's what I came to realize, which brings me to step three, shifting. Shifting your relationship with uncertainty from enemy to ally, from something to fear to something to partner with. And the spiritual teachers across traditions have been saying this for thousands of years. The sages almost never speak from a place of like rigid knowing, even in traditions that later became very fixed and doctrinal. The original voices are full of uncertainty, almost like this trembling wonder. The Buddha talked about the grasping mind and the freedom that comes from loosening the grip on fixed views. Zen teachers refuse to harden into like final conclusions, always pointing us back to what they call the beginner's mind. And Rumi, who I love, has this awesome quote. He says, "Sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment. Cleverness is mere opinion, bewilderment is intuition." I want to sit with that for a second because to me, that's like the whole teaching. Cleverness is the ego's currency, it's the mind saying, I know I'm right. I can correctly predict. I have the answer. Bewilderment is the soul's currency. It's the soul saying, I'm willing to be shown. I'm willing to see this differently. I'm willing to trust the unfolding. Remember, we were raised in a culture that values certainty. So, questioning and shifting that embedded belief will set off internal like alarm bells. Your ego is going to fight you on this. When you start practicing bewilderment, when I started practicing bewilderment, when I started saying, I don't know, a little voice would pop up almost immediately saying, no, 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 I do know what this means. I know exactly how this is going to go. That's how I know I'm actually doing the practice. When that voice shows up and tries to drag me back into certainty, that's the ego trying to reassert control, trying to protect itself by predicting the worst or by clinging to what's familiar. What I've learned is that the more willing I am not to know, the more available I am to be led somewhere beautiful, somewhere I could have never have planned or forced into being. So I want to offer you a simple mantra. I use this mantra all the time. I mentioned it in another episode. Write it down, say it out loud, let it slowly remap that neural pathway. And the mantra is, I don't know what any of this means, but I'm willing to see it differently. That's it. That's the practice. The power isn't in suddenly understanding, it's in the softening around your demand to understand. When you catch yourself grasping for certainty, when you feel the anxiety rising because you don't know what's coming, come back to that mantra. Come back to bewilderment. Feel how it opens just a little bit of space between you and the story your mind is telling you. In that space, something new can happen. When I look back at my life, everything truly meaningful came from the places I couldn't predict, the friendships that changed my trajectory, the teachers and books that found me at the exact right moment, the opportunities I never would have had the courage to plan for, the times I discovered strength I didn't know I had. Even the moments of deep love and spiritual opening, all of it came from mystery. None of it came from certainty. None of it did. None of it came from a perfectly executed 5 year plan. None of it came from me gripping the steering wheel and forcing my life to obey my script. That's what I want for you. Not a life where you never feel afraid, because it can be scary at times, but a life where fear doesn't get to be the only voice deciding what's possible. I want you to build your capacity for mystery, not because uncertainty is easy. It isn't, but because it's the doorway to everything your soul, our soul, is actually longing for. If you're ready to stop grasping so tightly, if you're curious about what might unfold when you trade a little cleverness for bewilderment, this is the work that we do here at Earth School Navigation. Subscribe if this resonates and let us walk the path together. I mean, you don't have to navigate the unknown alone. Have a good week.